Live from Owings Mills, Maryland, it's the Max Fortune Show. Whether it's becoming a success by achieving your dreams and goals, growing your business, or unlocking your full potential, the Max Fortune Show specializes in helping you maximize your fortune. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Max Fortune Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Max Fortune Show. I am Max Fortune, your host for the show today. And for those of you who are not familiar with myself, I'm an author, motivational speaker, publisher, and a book coach. And if you're an aspiring author, I really want to let you know that, and you want to get your book published out there, you can download our free ebook, How to Get Your Book Published. And you can do that by going to fortunepublishinggroup.com/ebook. So again, if you're an author out there, you want to get your book published, you want to get some free information, go to fortunepublishinggroup.com/ebook. So again, if you're an author out there, you want to get your book published, you want to get some free information, go to fortunepublishinggroup.com/ebook. And again, get some really cool information. You'll be added to our weekly newsletter. And you'll also have the opportunity to share it on some of your social networks.
Yeah.
And unlock some really cool prizes once you do that. So.
And you can schedule a free book consultation by going to fortunepublishinggroup.com and booking an appointment with us so we can discuss your project.
Correct. And as many of you know, anybody's been watching the show, this is Joe Farina. I should have introduced you before that. The
That's
co-host.
all right. I'm that guy.
And so Joe is the director of sales and marketing here at Fortune Publishing Group. And he's a phenomenal guy who's owned the online businesses, both retail and actually offline in the sports supplements
industry.
That's a tongue twister
and
for most of you guys.
Offline, what we call brick and mortar.
There you go. Say that 10 times.
Brick and mortar. So I'm going to say this.
And Joe's also highly skilled.
Time.
He's a highly skilled entrepreneur, and one of the things, he's a personal development specialist. Has worked with a lot of people, and really has also had his work published both in book and magazine form. So again, he's been a great addition to the Fortune Publishing Group team.
Been around
and
the world,
to the family.
man.
You've been around the world and back.
Around the world.
He's singing that Lisa Stansfield song.
Yeah.
Not gonna do that. Okay, you're the singer,
right.
not me. That's not
Okay.
my thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as always, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. One of many. But the Max Fortune Show is recorded live, and we have callers calling in on our phone number,
That's right.
as well as you listeners out there in the social media land. You can comment on our social media page on Ask Max Fortune. You can call the number 844-220-2266. That is our new number,
That's right.
specifically for the show. So call in, or you can email our wonderful producer at maxfortuneshow@gmail.com. And I want to remind everyone
That's right.
that one of our great, interactive, wonderful viewers or callers out there is going to win 3 exciting days, 2 fun-filled nights to a destination of your choice. You have about 20 different destinations to choose from here. So that's compliments of the Max Fortune Show, simply for engaging us with some great questions and content. So good luck out there.
That's right. So we're queuing up here, as I usually like to do, so that we can actually get ready for comments. Again, please comment on the show. We thoroughly enjoy having comments on the show. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the feed there. Today we're going to be focusing on setting goals. So what we do every week, for those of you following the show format, we usually focus around some of the 3 of the books that I've kind of written. And first this week, the first Thursday of the month, which this being one of them, we focus on goals and the setting and achieving your dreams and goals. A lot of the topics center around success, the blueprint to achieving your dreams and goals, a book I wrote a couple of years ago. You can actually order it on fortunepublishinggroup.com's website, but it's a good piece of information to have. You can definitely get a lot out of it. And so today we're going to be talking about setting goals and how important it is to set goals for anyone who aspires to be successful. Again, there's no way you can achieve success in life without having some kind of benchmark parameters or some things that you are shooting for that you want to attain with your life. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I know that it's very, very important to have some kind of goals or focus. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We welcome you if you achieved any goals for yourself. If you have some goals that you want to set that you want to share with us, you want to talk about, maybe you're having some challenges accomplishing some of your personal goals. This is what the show's for today. We definitely welcome the calls. We definitely welcome the comments online. And again, we would love to hear from you. Tune in with us, and we'll be looking for that. So,
Journey of 1,000 miles begins with one footstep.
there you go.
And so I think the key thing to remember here is that in order to achieve a goal, you first have to do what, Max? You have to set the goal. Right?
Exactly.
You have to set it. So that's a big deal.
My goal right now is to get this thing going.
Yeah, what?
It's just, I don't know.
He's got sidetracked with
Yeah.
that.
I'm sorry. Okay, now,
So-
guess what? Boom, there we go.
All
I think
right,
I
we're
hit
in
the
now.
thing. We're
We're in.
in. Okay, so
We can do the show.
we can do the show.
All right. Okay.
I
He's
can
back.
see us,
He's
you
back,
know,
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's always good when you can just kind of see. What we want to do is make
Yeah.
sure we don't miss any comments, miss any of your comments. So again, if you're commenting on the show right now, we can actually see them. We can actually respond to your comments, your likes, all of those things. Again, we really, really love interaction from you, the audience out there, while we do our thing here. And you know what? I think I'm dressed kind of nicely. I'm going to move my stuff over a little bit. So,
All right. There you go.
okay. Anyway, we said we were talking about this, and so, you know, one of the things that I want to talk about is that, you know, when it comes to setting goals, a lot of people just lack direction,
Yeah.
focus. And so, you know, one of the first things with setting goals is making sure you have direction, or that you know where you're trying to go. It's kind of like getting in your car, trying to go to a place you've never been to, and not putting it in your GPS and expecting to find a destination.
Or getting in your car and not even knowing where you're going,
That's even worse.
right?
Right. So there's a guarantee that if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. There's a guarantee for that.
Yep.
So again, having direction is just a matter of just saying, okay, this is what I want to accomplish, this is what I want to achieve. And a lot of times it really involves having some benchmarks. So I think in the goal setting realm, it's not enough to just set a goal. You really also have to have a time or really the direction of where you want to go. And honestly, the direction speaks to really the ultimate purpose of the goals that you're going to set. So in setting goals, you really want to have that direction set up so you know, so that really even the goals you're creating are in line with where you're trying to ultimately get to. And so
Yeah.
that's the big main part of setting or making sure that you have direction, and that you're not one of those people that lack direction. I mean, you don't want to just be all over the place, because that's where you're going to end up, all over the place. So you want to be able to have some kind of focus. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't change directions, or which that's perfectly normal to do that. If you're trying something that's not working out, you got to try something new and something different. There's nothing wrong with that, but not having any direction whatsoever, not knowing where you want to go, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Yeah, and I think you want to know exactly, like you said, where you're headed. What is the end game? Because when you have an end game in mind of what you're looking to achieve, then you can put goals or markers in your plan that you set, so it gives you that track to run on. You have that next step to achieve. It's like driving to California from Maryland.
Right.
You kind of, if you map it out, you kind of know how far you're going to be able to get, and that's where you need to get to stay the night, where you need to refuel at, those kinds of things. Really gives clarity to what you're doing. And most people, Max, I'm sure you know this, most people do not set goals.
Yeah, that's true.
They just don't. And I think probably that comes from, and I've experienced this in my life, so I can speak to that, is not having a clear picture of what you're trying to accomplish, one. And two, not taking the necessary time to actually sit down and think about it. Like really put thought behind it
Yeah.
of what we're looking to achieve, what it's going to take to get there, and what things or goals do I have to meet in order to get there in a reasonable amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's so important.
Yeah, I think with setting goals, I mean, a lot of times I think it also starts with just doing simple things, like really having a to-do list for that day, for the day. And most like with most things, we're creatures of habit. So it takes 30 days to create a good habit, and you know what? It only takes one to create a bad one. So you want to get in the habit of setting goals, even if they're just small daily goals. Setting goals are really important, and a lot of times it's kind of like just working out. You don't want to kind of, if you're one of those people who haven't set goals for your life, or even for your day, or for your week, or your month, you start off with that way, starting off your daily goals with a to-do list. 4 or 5 things that you want to accomplish before the day is over, and you'll be surprised how much you can accomplish by just setting benchmarks. Okay, I want to do these 5 things before today is done. And again, if you set 5 goals every day at the end of the week, you can accomplish 25 things. And that beats not setting any goals whatsoever. And, you know, I liken goals to like going to the grocery store and going shopping. If you ever gone shopping without a list, you end up with a whole bunch of stuff in the cart you didn't even mean to get, you know. So
Especially if you're hungry.
Especially if you're
hungry.
Guess what?
Hungry.
Most people go to the supermarket hungry. So you end up with a bunch of stuff you don't really want. And that's not what you want for your life. And that's where most people's lives lack that direction, because, again, not having those things written down, you're prone to really put anything in the cart. And as you're going by things. So you definitely want to be in a situation where you're writing those goals down and you're setting those goals. It's very, very critical and important.
And speaking about writing things down, you want to get out your pen and write this one down. In order to achieve your goals, you must take control. So in order to achieve that goal, you got to take control. And what that means is you have to take responsibility for achieving those goals. They're your personal goals. And making them achievable. And if you look at a goal in sports, that means you're scoring, right?
Right.
And the more goals you score, the more likely you are to win. So that's the name of the game, is scoring. You want to hit those goals. You want to hit those marks. And the way to do that is to take control. But you have to, in your planning process, and I recommend this, making goals that are achievable for you. And sometimes in breaking habits, it might be as simple as just showing up. Great example of this was when I was in personal training and I had a client that was asking me to do a workout program for him. He said, what do I need to do at the gym? They wanted to get all elaborate. And I wanted to know the program, the diet, and everything. And I asked them one simple question. You know, how often do you go to the gym a week? Well, I haven't started going yet. They're not working out. So my advice was very simple. Just show up. 3 days a week. Hop on a treadmill. And if you can do that for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks straight, then you can start doing something. Then it's worth implementing a plan. But if you're not even showing up, that's the first step. That should be the first goal. The first goal should be to show up.
Yeah. I agree. And what I find that there's so many people out there who are just afraid to set goals.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a section in this book I talk about, something I've done a long time, and that talks about confiding in strangers, people confiding your goals or setting your goals. Sometimes it's tough to talk to people that you know about your goals, because
I just cut that thing, stranger danger.
Well, it's kind of like what? And then let me clarify. Sometimes if you can talk to, and the word was an objective stranger, somebody who doesn't really, well, you know, sometimes friends and family are going to really be more judgmental people in your life. So sometimes they're not necessarily a complete perfect stranger. I mean, maybe somebody that you don't normally share.
A random guy at the bus stop.
Right. Well, it could be a random guy at the bus stop. You know, if there's other people around.
I understand.
but anyway, the point of it is, sometimes you can confide in someone who does not know you or is not going to judge you or what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can actually even use that as a sounding board with setting some of your goals. But what you don't want to do is be afraid to set goals. You know, and most people, it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. Most people don't set goals because they're afraid they're not going to hit them. But what if you do? And what happens when you do hit them?
And a lot of that, Max, is linked to a tendency of self-sabotage. When somebody does set goals, they set goals that are so far out of their realm of where they're currently at that they're setting themselves up for failure. It's that self-sabotaging thing that a lot of us tend to do. What's that? Fear of success, fear of failure, right? It's that fear of success, the fear of setting goals that you can actually achieve and taking control of your life and holding yourself accountable. That can be very scary. That's assuming responsibility.
Yeah.
And so,
No, I agree with you.
there's fear in that, right?
Yeah.
What if I set a goal that I actually can achieve and then I don't do it? What does that say about me?
You know what it says, and I think so many people are plagued with that. What it says is that you've at least attempted or tried. So that's the whole point of that exercise is a lot of times, even when you set a goal, even if you don't hit it fully, you're usually a little further off than if you didn't set the goal at all. So you really want to focus on setting a goal, setting a target, and not be afraid to set those goals. Even, honestly, the biggest thing is to not be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid to fail. Because if you're not afraid to fail, then you know, think about how you were as a kid. You know, kids are fearless. They don't really, fear is something that we're not born with, if you think about it. We're not born with the spirit of fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're just not. It's learned behavior. We have to learn to be afraid. You know what I mean?
We're told to be afraid.
We're told to be afraid, and you have to accept that fear, and you have to actually, again, it's something that you have to teach yourself, fear. Now, some things, you know, are warned. You want to not be just footloose and fancy free. But, you know, again, as far as when it comes to setting goals, do not be afraid of not even hitting your goal. Again, it's not, you want to be able to set goals that are reasonable first, but you want to be, you know, most people beat up on themselves when they don't get something done, and that's counterproductive. That's not going to help you. The more you set goals, and I don't know anybody, I've set a lot of goals, and I do this every day, and, you know, I don't achieve every single solitary goal. And for me, I write it down. My life is really crazy. I never know from one moment to the next where things are going to go. So I have to write things down because you get distracted by a phone call or this or that, the other. You got to have a place to come back to. And that's why it's also good to write it down. But the focal point is to not be afraid to set those goals, to not be afraid to fail. Just get out there and try, because there's so much knowledge that you gain, even in failure.
Yeah.
So if you kind of approach that whole aspect of, you're going to learn something no matter what, whether you're, as a matter of fact, the odd thing is we actually learn way more from our failures than we do from our successes. So if you're thinking about that, then you embrace going after your dreams or goals, because even if you fail, you're going to learn. What you're going to learn is going to just help you prepare even more. So again, you definitely want to just remove any fear you have on accomplishing or achieving your goals.
I'd like to just add something to that when it comes to that word failure. There's a lot of negative connotation, I believe, just from childhood that most of us grew up in, that if you got a bad score on a test, you failed. And that was bad. And failure is a necessary part of everything we do in the learning process, right? None of us are perfect. And it's important to remember that as we're setting those realistic goals. And Max, I have spent a lot of time looking at failure because I've done it plenty of times. And what I've realized is it's better for me to call, quote unquote, failure a fun word like experiment.
There you go.
Right? I'm experimenting.
Okay.
Because that failure word for a lot of you, and I'm sure some of you out there, that failure word is just a word. Oh, you failed. You're a failure. You know, you failed. You got, 65, fail, F on the test. And you hear that. Well, we're experimenting. Right? If you're out there and you're looking to achieve something, you're experimenting. And don't be afraid to experiment and learn throughout that process. Yeah.
I agree. It's eliminating some of that, as far as, like I said, the experimental process. Just being, you know, most people are just way too hard on themselves.
Yeah.
And there's not a reason for it, and that's counterproductive. So again, we talk about not only, we talked about or recapping a couple things about having goals first and foremost. Making sure you write them down is really, really important, and not having a fear of failure, not being afraid to accomplish those goals. But I think you also mentioned this, and I want to kind of circle back and touch on this even more. That's setting those goals, making sure they're realistic, making sure that you set goals. And again, it starts with today. It starts with your daily goal sheet. Make sure it's things. Now, you know what I like to do when I do goal sheets, you should have some stretch goals. So all your goals should not be simple, easy things like get up and brush your teeth or wash your face or do something like that. I mean, those could be on there too, but they shouldn't be. That shouldn't be a goal. It should be
He's
just something
saying,
you do.
what
and it's-
Max is saying is, you better have proper hygiene.
That too, yes, you gotta have that because nobody wants to sit next to this funky Johnny. But but what I am saying is, your goals should be realistic. They should be things that you can realistically hit. And what I usually do is have goals set in a couple of categories. So you set your easy daily goals, you set weekly goals, and then you set your monthly goals. And in those, you sprinkle in a couple of stretch goals, some goals that are going to kind of stretch you a little bit, things that are not easy to accomplish or achieve. And so some goals you can accomplish. I mean, making a phone call or calling this person or reaching out to that one, researching online. Some of those things are really super easy goals. And one of the things when it comes to setting realistic goals, I'm going to tell you there's something called momentum. And what you really want to have when it comes to setting goals is momentum with your goal setting, meaning I always like to start off with some really good, I start my day off with some really easily achievable goals because then you got momentum going. You got 2 or 3 things that are really easy. Make a phone call here, research this, write something down, or make sure it's easy things. A couple of easy goals from the beginning of the day. Now you've got momentum. You've accomplished 2 or 3 things. And you know what? I'm addicted to the checklist. I have to write things down. And sometimes I'll do a goal and I will do something that I didn't write down. I'll write it down just so I can check it off because I'm really just addicted to checking things off on a list. So once you get used to setting goals, realistic goals, and you get accomplishing, it's kind of like back in the day when you were a kid and you got the gold star on your paper, you know what I mean? Just being able to check off things on your list is really, really important. It's a good feeling. So again, making sure those goals are realistic is important.
And I love what you're saying about making goals that you can actually get into that kind of winning mode and start getting momentum early in the part of your day. And I call it leveling up. And the way that works is if you're starting out and you're really not someone who's used to actually directing your life, pick one. Yeah, I know you have the 300 things on your checklist and you have all these things that you want to do and it becomes overwhelming. You pick one. And that might be getting up 15 minutes early, 30 minutes early every day. Forget what you do with it. But picking one and creating momentum, creating consistency, burning that new habit that you have created through your choice into your subconscious mind to where it becomes second nature, it becomes a part of you. And then once you've mastered that one, then you level up and then you can add 2. So now you're waking up a half hour early every morning and that's not an issue. You focused all your energy on that. Now you can add reading 10 minutes in the morning and do that and master that and you level up because too often the fear of goal setting for most individuals is they look at the gigantic picture and they make the goal so big that it is unattainable and unachievable, and they try to change too many things in our life at one time. And controlling one's life is a skill that has to be developed to actually direct one's life. You have to develop that skill and become comfortable with that and taking control. Because too often, Max, when you talk about setting goals, too often we let other individuals set the goals for us.
Right.
And we lose that ability if we're not careful. Someone else sets our time that we're supposed to wake up and when we're supposed to be in traffic and what time we're done, where we need to be at. Sometimes, for some of you out there, your schedule's planned out all week and somebody else has pretty much filled that schedule for you. So taking the time to really fight for it, work for it, and develop those disciplines that are necessary to set some fun goals. It's fun and exciting because now you're able to direct your life and pick one. Just one. Whatever that is. That could be to drink an extra bottle of water a day. And I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you make that choice and you consistently follow through with it, you have now developed a winning culture in your life. And you've got that momentum. And then you can level up and add more and add more. Just like somebody going to the gym who's working out. They're only working out with 5 pounds. Before you know it, they're up to 10. Before you know it, they're up to 20. And it continues from there. And you just work at it. You stretch yourself.
And I think that's super, super critical.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know if we talked about it. I think that kind of goes to the small steps and steady actions piece where you're kind of, again, just being steady, being consistent. You mentioned that. I can't say enough about being consistent. That is something that is super, super important. I remember, it's so funny, I remember even in some things we remember from childhood or even high school, the school I went to, they were so big on you being consistent. I went to Loyola High School, and it was private Catholic schools. They were so important, they were so insistent on being consistent that they would give you, and some teachers, I should say, not all teachers, okay, they're Loyola, but some of them would give you a grade if you were consistently got the answer wrong, but you were consistent in the wrong answer. They gave you credit for it because you were consistent. That's how big they drilled in how important it is to be consistent. So that's something I always remember, but so it's something I take into my life. Consistency, doing something, success is really never the big things you do once in a while. It's the little things you do over and over and over again. So that steady action is super, super critical and important.
It is important, and those small steps that lead to that steady action and that consistency is something that, for many of you, and like all of us, we have to fight for at times, because there are external forces and internal forces that want to pull us away from being consistent. We get distracted. And I think there's a great Rudyard Kipling poem. I think the first part of it is if you can keep your head about you when all others are losing theirs, then you will be a man, my son. And if you can keep your head about you and stay focused on the end game and achieve those consistent goals, magic starts to happen. It just does. That consistency does start to pay off. What happens is, where does people struggle with that consistency at, Max? Well, I believe they struggle with consistency because they're looking at the current moment.
Right.
They're not looking at the end game, and so they're looking right in the moment. They're looking at where they're currently at and judging their fruits on that.
Right.
And consistency, a farmer who's consistently preparing his field still has to wait for the harvest.
Right.
And he has to do that. You have to water your plants consistently with no produce, no fruit coming. But once the season of harvest comes, that consistency then pays off. So that mental game of not letting the mindset trick you, that consistency is something that is just not worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it to fight for. Consistently going after your goals. Boom. Drop the microphone.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and so yeah, I think so. We want to also welcome you. Actually, want to.
Yeah. I'd like to just remind everybody that you can call in the number 844-220-2266 to talk to myself or Max, and you can email our wonderful producer of the show at maxfortuneshow@gmail.com. You can like the page, put some comments down below. We'd love to answer any questions you have, and the most interactive and engaging caller or listener today who brings some valuable content is going to win that 3 days, 2 exciting nights to a destination of your choice, compliments of the Max Fortune Show. So we thank you for being a part of it as we are hammering down the point of setting your goals.
Correct. And then you know what? I just want to go back and say, if you're an aspiring author, somebody out there, we've talked a lot about authors and getting published out there, and really the whole goal setting process is part of that. And so what I want to do is, if you are out there, you're an aspiring author, we actually want you to go out to fortunepublishinggroup.com/ebook, and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter that we send out every week, every Thursday, honestly, the day we do the shows. Sign up, join the newsletter. You'll be able to download instantly that free ebook, and on top of that, you'll actually be able to share that. So we're asking you, even if you're out there watching right now, share this feed with someone you think that might be good, or that might need to set some goals, or might be important to set goals, or somebody who's great at setting goals. Like, sometimes it's good to hear confirmation of doing the right thing. So I'm just going to ask you, if you're out there watching the show, if you're finding some good, seeing value in what we're saying and what we're sharing, and you know someone at work, a coworker, a family member that might need some of what we're saying, share it. Share this feed. It takes 2 seconds to just hit the share button if you're watching this on Facebook Live right now. If you're watching this as a replay on YouTube later, you can still share it that way too.
Sure.
You can still share it. So we encourage you to do that. But also like the page. Go to, if you're on this page for Ask Max Fortune, like the page, let us know. Send us some comments. We really do enjoy the comments. Emails, we like to respond back to those as well. So I just wanted to kind of take a moment to do that as we're getting back into, into everything.
Let's dig in.
Yep.
Let's dig in. So you got those small, steady steps that lead to those goals. And the important step of all of this is taking that first step to organize a course of action, right? It's taking that initial step to make sure that you are going to set that course and stick to it. That's so important. Jim Rohn once said that the day that your life turns around, right, is the day that you say, I've had it, that's it, enough. Something is going to change. And anytime you implement a new behavior like goal setting or adding a new goal, you are implementing change, and there's power in that. But you've got to get to that point where you're willing to commit to it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And so, part of that process is gathering information on how to achieve your goals. So I actually thought you were going to talk about that, but I realized.
No, that was you.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's why I talked about organizing a course of action.
I see. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so gathering
You were doing
information.
taking daily action.
You know what? I was doing that's right. Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to talk about gathering information on how to achieve your goals. Again, that's really, really important if you really want to be great at setting goals or achieving goals. Some goals, we talked earlier about those stretch goals. Those goals are going to stretch you. They're going to get you out of your comfort zone. Some of those are going to require some information, some research. Lucky for us in this day and age, everybody's got a cell phone tied to your hand, or you've got a computer, desktop, or wherever you are. You can get information. Information is at our fingertips. So some of your goals are going to require you doing some research, doing some Googling, Bing or whatever you do, but Google I think is the best place to go. But whatever, you want to get some information on what it's going to take to accomplish or achieve your goals. So you're just not going out there blindly at it. And it's always also good to field or find people who've achieved similar goals than you have and talk to those people. That's in the information gathering process. So if you're really serious about accomplishing or achieving some of the goals, why not cut down some of the learning curve by talking to people who have accomplished similar goal, or going out there on the internet and finding. I mean, there's almost anything you find between Google and YouTube, I should say.
Yeah.
Goals that you set, and setting goals are really, really, like I said, it can be addictive. It can be addictive in a positive way, where you get addicted to achieving things, setting things, and there's nothing better than setting a goal, even setting a goal you weren't even sure you were going to hit, and then hitting it. I mean, that's got to be one of the greatest feelings in the world. Saying,
Yeah.
you know what, I wasn't sure, I was hoping I could do it, I wasn't 100% sure, I did the research, I found out how I was going to do it, and I did it. And kind of circling that back into even publishing, getting a book published or anything like that is super an incredible feeling. Is get to that point where it's a tough thing. It's a tough starting off at the beginning of that journey, but then getting to the point where you hit it, you accomplish it, you achieve it. It's a great feeling of nirvana.
Right. Yeah.
So gathering information is a really important part on the goal achieving process. So you don't want to not take that seriously. Some of your goals are going to require you gathering information about them. Do that so that you're prepared for what it's going to take, even helping you with time frames that it's going to take to get these certain goals down. So you just kind of move that way. So the other thing I'll kind of circle back in or tie into this is taking action daily. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but again, if you're setting goals, if you're serious about setting goals, you want to do something every day that's going to push you further along to achieving your stretch goals or your big goals or your goals for the day. You want to take action daily. Again, something to write down is to take action daily. You talked about showing up earlier.
Yeah.
Just showing up.
Showing up.
Is important. You got to take action daily because remember, I said earlier that it takes 30 days to create a good habit. 30 days. So you have to consciously be doing something, knowing that this is what you're going to do for 30 days. And it only takes one day to create a bad one. So the moment you break your stride, or the moment you get out of that daily activity, that daily routine, is really the moment you have to really be very vigilant on getting back to whatever your routine is. Because again, it's just that one day that leads to two. You do something 2 days, you get off your schedule for 2 days, you're not taking action daily. The next thing you know, a week has gone by. And if you not do it for a week, then it's a month. Yeah. So again, you want to make sure you're taking action daily. Every day you're doing something. And that's just also a feeling of you getting closer and closer every day to accomplishing your dream or goal, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
So,
and Max, you talked about doing the research. I am just so blessed, the mentors that I've had in my life that have really helped me make plans, set goals, and really someone to model after. And that's so important as you're doing research, seeking wise counsel, finding mentors that are where you want to be at. And goals are such a, I mean, there's many goals. Some people have goals of just getting up and doing things that are what we consider routine.
Right.
Other people have lofty goals. They want to travel the world, be an international speaker, best-selling author, 1 million copies sold, big gigantic goals. Wherever we're at, the goals are the same, because anytime you're pushing outside of your comfort zone, you're outside of your comfort zone, right? And so knowing that you're uncomfortable, having the information helps with the uncomfortableness of it, because once you have knowledge, now you are competent on achieving that. And when you're competent, you then have confidence, right? So as you're learning, you'll get more confident. You'll be able to achieve those goals. And mentors are so important because they can give you wise counsel. Another thing I want to add on that, as we look at goals and accomplishing them and taking them one step at a time, bring passion to whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
Even the small little details. How you do anything is how you do everything. So as you're setting these goals, realize that there is that change process and bring passion to it. Discern what you want in this life and go after it with a passion. And that's so important. And bring that to the goals, whatever they are. A person who lacks passion has no motivation to act. And so when you have that motivation that's tied to that passion, which is geared towards your goal, you will become 10 feet tall and bulletproof. You'll be unstoppable. You will be anchored in strength to achieve more. And it's those little goals. And that could be as simple as somebody who struggles with, we'll use one that's struggled maybe with weight loss. And they're looking at losing an enormous amount of weight, 200 pounds. And they look at that and they look in the mirror and they see that they're 200 pounds and they can't possibly fathom that they'll ever actually able to get that weight off. And the doctor says they need to, but they feel like they can't because they're looking at the big picture, right? And then they beat themselves up and then they say what? It's not worth setting goals. It's not worth shooting for 5 pounds because I just don't believe I can get there. And that's where passion comes in. You discern what you want. You go after it with passion and you bring that to the table. And then you can make small changes like just giving up soda, adding an extra glass of water because you've got the end game in mind. You say, it doesn't matter where I'm at, it matters where I'm going. Bam.
All right.
Okay.
Drop the mic again.
All right. Hallelujah. Right?
You know what? I'm going to see if I can match your passion and fire. This is one of the
I
things
get
love
fired
about
up
you. I can tell. I mean, this is great. I can tell.
Peaking at level 10.
Yeah, I see that. And that's that passion stirring up in you.
Yeah.
You're real spirited about that. And so, I want to touch on something that you just said that I think is really critical. And you talk about really getting there. And so part of the goal accomplishing, goal achieving process is you have to picture yourself achieving that goal. You know what I mean? You have to picture yourself doing it. I'm thinking of this alliteration where you perceive, believe to achieve. You perceive it first, you believe it, and then you achieve it. So that perception or seeing yourself accomplishing your goal is super, super critical. It's super important, and it helps you get through those tough days, those tough moments. If you can actually see yourself where you want to be, you can get there. If the trouble or the challenges, when you can't see it happening, it really does affect the belief system.
Yeah.
And if you don't see it, then it's hard to believe it. And if you don't see it and you don't believe it, it is almost nearly impossible to achieve a goal that you don't see or believe that you can achieve. So you have to definitely start with that perception. You have to see yourself accomplishing that goal, see the end game, as you mentioned earlier, see it in view, visualize yourself accomplishing that. Me, I was coaching some girls, my daughter's basketball team for a while, and I always would tell them all this: perceive, believe, and achieve. So that's where I got that little thing. I would always tell them that. Perceive yourself. See, even before the game is played, see yourself playing the game well. See yourself doing things that you want to do in the game, and you can do that in the game of life. See yourself, perceive those things that you want to do, perceive the things that you want to accomplish or achieve, and even seeing it affects the belief process. Because once you can see it in your mind, then you can believe that it can be done. And there's very few things that cannot be accomplished with when you have perception and belief. So if you perceive it, you believe it, you will achieve it. And that's so critical with coming to goals. So picturing yourself accomplishing those goals, whatever they may be. And again, it's like you talked about working out earlier. It's, you know, your mind and your goal setting process and your ability to use your mind to set goals. It's like a muscle. It's like working out. You can't just start working out and picking up 200 pounds. You got to work up to that. So again, piggybacking on how you want to just be taking those steps daily, taking those actions daily, and really working towards accomplishing the goal. But again, believing in yourself, you can accomplish it. We still would like to hear from anybody out there who's working on some goals out there, working on who even have achieved the goal. If you've out there achieved the goal that you didn't think was possible, and you did wrote it down, and you kind of pushed for it, you saw yourself do it, give us a call. Let us know again what your experience was. We like to do that either through really call in if you're able to do that. The phone number here is 844-220-2266. Call us, let us know, let's hear your story, and so we're always again anxious to hear that. So
yeah, so very good. And I'm going to keep hammering on the point of this goal thing, and I think it's really about just achieving more is really what it comes down to. Anytime you set a goal, you want to achieve more, you're looking for something. And it is important to stay on track, to stay the course, but at the same time, evaluate constantly. And that, again, goes back to the word that I've mentioned, and it's just passion. Life is too short to play willy-nilly. Life is too short to drive around with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And I think there comes a time when each and every one of us looks in the mirror and says, where do I want to go? Who do I want to be, and what do I want to do? And then that activates that question asking process of our brain. And if we're really honest with ourselves, when we start writing them down, that goal process starts to reveal itself. And then seeking wise counsel and collecting information on how can I, right? How can I do something? How can I do this? Creates energy. And then as you write that out, it is so vital and important to stay on track and then evaluate constantly. I can't say that enough, because too often we start something and we do not see it through. We leave too early. We've developed the habit of leaving too early. Jim Rohn once said, you never want to develop the habit at the sports game of leaving too early to beat the traffic.
yeah.
You know, when the athletes on the field playing are staying till the end and they're grinding it till the end, and there's been more times than not when somebody's left the stadium or turned off the channel because they thought their team lost, only to find out later on that the team came back and won. Last Super Bowl was like that. And you know, the people who left too early, who didn't stay the course, they missed out on something amazing.
Yeah.
They missed out on the great comeback. So you got to stay the course. And it's a fight. And I say passion, Max, because I know full well that there are just things that come up in life externally and internally that will try to bring us back to status quo, that will try to bring us back to where we're at and anchor us in that. It's gravity that pulls against us, that brings us down. And if we're not passionate about pushing through that, something like literally like waking up 30 minutes early every day becomes a daunting task. Something like giving up, watching too much television becomes a problem. And so the things that inhibit us from achieving things, we end up holding on to. And then we end up really not bringing that fire and passion that I've got to have it to what we really want. And we work so hard to hold on to what we have. Boom.
I agree. And I want to just continue as my feed is now up and it's working. So I want to say thank you for all the people.
Back on the feed.
Back on the feed. It's always good. I feel
Max,
weird when I can't.
Max
really
loves
see.
his toys.
Yeah, so I want to just thank all the people. We have a lot of people sharing this video, so thanks for the people who are sharing it. A really, really, really great friend of mine, Lee Mercer, over in Chicago, back in Chicago, is watching the show right now. So thanks for tuning in from Chicago. Again, anybody else who's commenting in, we'd love to hear the comments. Again, you could be sitting right where you are, sitting on your phone, just kind of text us a little comment, tell us about something that you achieved or a goal that you set. and let us know what you did to accomplish that goal.
One of our goals is to have you out there comment.
There you go.
I've set that goal right now.
So come on.
Now let's see if we can achieve it. We're going to achieve it.
So somebody comment out there, and you know what, I'm hoping
We have a goal for a caller as well.
Right. So Mike, okay, we gotta set the, you know.
We're incremental? All right, we go back to comments first.
No,
You're leveling
I'm
up,
hoping
Max.
that we're leveling up. There you go. And I'm hoping my my doohickey here is working right because it's kind of in and out. But yeah. So as we're kind of wrapping up the show, and we're working on some of these things. Hopefully you're finding this information really great. If you're really, these have nothing to do, or they're more life-setting goals, or about accomplishing success in your life, whatever you define that to be. Again, this information that we try to do on the first Thursdays is about setting goals, whatever your goal is, not what anyone else's goal is. And so one of the last things I think we're next to the last things we're gonna talk about is how important it is to constantly set new goals. So many people kind of set a goal and accomplish a goal, and a lot of times in the middle of me setting goals, I'm setting new goals as I'm accomplishing the goals or getting close to accomplishing the goals that I'm setting for. And so it's always something you want to be in the habit of setting new goals for yourself all of the time. As you achieve your goals, you definitely want to reset new goals then. But even in the process, so you want to be in that mode of always accomplishing your goals, always setting some goals, and always striving and working toward goals. So it becomes a mindset and becomes something that you're focused on. And if you focus on anything, you do anything, then it just becomes something that you just don't even have to think about anymore. It's just something that you do. It's a part of you. And so setting goals is so critical to that whole growth process, but then setting new goals along the way as you're getting to that benchmark, or as you're getting to accomplishing the goals, I think is super, super critical. So
yeah, you're spot on. And as you do that, it really does create, I think the important thing to remember here is it's culture. You're creating a culture of achievement, and you're creating an environment where you're in momentum and continually having another goal and looking for new goals is life, right? That's living.
Yeah.
There's existing, and then there's living. Living is learning more. It's doing more. I think, I love Jim Rohn. He asked a question one time to someone in a seminar. He said, if you can do more, shouldn't you? If you can learn more, shouldn't you? If you can read more, shouldn't you? If you can love more, do more, give more, have more, be more, shouldn't you? And that's so vital to remember as we put down goals on a sheet of paper. That shouldn't we look to achieve goals? Shouldn't we look to add new things to our life? Some of the great memories that most of us will probably finally look back on is our childhood memories. And those things are imprinted on us. And if you look at our childhood, what were we constantly doing every day, Max?
Playing outside.
We were playing outside. Exactly. We were constantly just setting new goals. We were constantly doing new things. We were constantly learning. And everything was new. And everything was something different. Everything was an experience all throughout that process, right? And it's so important to remember that, guess what? We're not done learning yet. That setting goals is a vital part of living, and adding new goals daily, weekly, monthly, yearly is so vital. And I'll leave it with this, and I'll just say this one last thing. That when you look at all this stuff and you plan out your life and you look at, okay, where do I want to be 10 years from now? And you ask yourself that, just have that and hold on to it for a second, and you do this, ready? You do, is what I'm doing this year relevant to where I want to be in 10 years? And then you walk it back. Watch this. Is what I'm doing this month relevant to where I want to be 1 year from now? And then you walk it back. Are the goals I'm setting for this week relevant to where I want to be a month from now? And then you walk it back another. Is what I'm doing today moving me forward to where I want to be 1 week from now? Is what I'm doing in this hour where I want to be at by the end of the day? And is what I'm doing this minute moving me to that hour, and this second moving me to that minute. That's breaking it down. That's a second by second, play by play. Hope you rewind that and get all that.
Yeah, that's it. So you got it there. I mean, you know, if we don't break that mic. I was gonna say.
Sorry. Joey Smash. Can't take it anymore, Max.
You got it there.
I'm passionate, buddy.
No, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's fantastic. That was a great way of kind of bringing that whole subject to full circle and just really, honestly, kind of showing people how realistic it can be and how you can really just break down those goals. There's only one way to eat an elephant, and that's one piece at a time. So that's really, a lot of times, the only way you can attack or accomplish your goals, especially the big ones, is you have to break them down into smaller, attainable goals that can be done every day. If you do that, again, you can accomplish so much with your life and do so many things that, again, the whole goal of life is, as you mentioned earlier, is to not just survive this thing called life, but to live it. And to live it is growing, and to growing, again, you got to keep challenging yourself to accomplish it, pushing yourself to new and greater heights. So that's should be your goal for life. It should be your goal for every day, is to learn at least one new thing. If you at least learn one new thing every day, I mean, man, where are you at the end of the week, at the end of the month?
You are, yeah.
You know?
Right. At the end of the year.
Yeah, so again, these are, so we're trying to kind of give you things that are, I mean, this is, some people just don't set goals because, again, winding back, they just feel it's too difficult, or, again, that fear of failure we talked about earlier. You have to put yourself in a position that you just never know whether you can or not, and there's so much more you can accomplish by achieving the goals than just by not trying and just not putting out any effort whatsoever. So you want to at least try, put some effort out, and you just never know what can happen from that effort.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I think we're tying it all back into what, you know, Fortune Publishing and what you've done in the realm of book coaching, helping people set those goals and doing something that is extremely difficult for a large group of people out there, is to take an enormous amount of content and put it into words and put it into book form and have that published. That is a huge goal. This is a big goal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a difficult goal. But it is something that does require a decision, right? It requires that, a decision to be disciplined. And you know that from your coaching courses.
correct.
That a person who's engaged and disciplined, it is a foregone conclusion that they're going to achieve.
Yeah.
It's the end game. You know the end game. It's a foregone conclusion. Where any of that breaks down is when someone doesn't get engaged and doesn't stay the course and doesn't see it through. And I just, you know, everything we've talked about here really is about, it's a bigger picture of just getting engaged in this game of life and setting those goals because they matter, because your life matters, and because it becomes a whole lot more exciting and fun when you're learning new things and doing things that are moving the needle of the world forward. Right? And it doesn't have to be, it's that little pebble effect, right? That little ripple effect. You drop a little pebble into a pond, and that ripple effect affects so many people we don't even realize. And so when we start setting goals, guess what happens? Sometimes that gives other people permission to maybe set goals for themselves as well, and that's leadership. We don't often look at that sometimes, Max, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't have children, but I know that one of the common things that certainly some parents would say is, you know, I've heard it when I was a kid growing up, you know, do what I say. And sometimes it's, you know, don't do what I do what I say.
Right.
And what I do is different what I say.
Right.
And I think it's so important that, you know, the eyes of the world watch us. It's important that we step up our game, each and every one of us out there. Why not? Why leave it with a song still not sung, right?
You know, I do think there's so many times that we can really miss an opportunity to really be a leader. Not that you're always looking or doing things for other people, but like you said, people are watching, people watch what you do. They're paying attention to what you do, and when you set goals, and that's why, you know, at the top of the show I mentioned sharing those goals with an objective stranger or somebody. You know, we all have at least somebody in our lives that we can kind of share some of the things with, and if you don't have that person, then you go to the objective stranger, somebody you know, you can talk to that's not going to be judgmental, and you share those things with people. And a lot of times, here's the interesting thing, A lot of times when you're sharing your goal, there's something to be said about hearing it. You're speaking it out. And once you speak it out, you give it life. If you are not sharing your goals outwardly, if you're not speaking your goals out, then you're not giving them life. I mean, that's how the world was created, you know?
Yep.
So any goal that you want to speak it out. You want to, words are spirits. It's very powerful things. And so it's one of the things I've always teach my kids is, you know, how you don't ever call yourself a failure. Don't ever say, I mean, negative, there's so much negative energy out there. I mean, even what we're seeing in politics and other things today in this world, there's so much negative energy that gets spewed out there. But again, in your personal life, make sure you limit as much of that. And you definitely don't want to have any negativity when it comes to talking about yourself and when it comes to you accomplishing your personal dreams or goals. You want to stay positive, have positive affirmations, but you want to speak your goals into existence. Share them with someone. Because you're sharing them with someone, you then hear it, and it actually, now you're also accountable because you share it with someone. When you don't share your goals with other people, then again, you're not accountable. If you don't get it, no one knew. It's kind of like that whole tree falling in the woods, you know?
Right.
So you definitely don't want to be that person, that guy or whomever. You want to be one of those people that are somebody who can be sought as a leader or confident about achieving your goals or whatever. And again, sharing it is a very, very important part. It's a very important aspect or element. Sharing your goals with friends, relatives, and neighbors, giving them permission, like you mentioned earlier, to do the same thing. And that's empowering to be able to do that and to be able to share and give people the possibility or the ability to actually achieve their goals or share their goals with you. Because I could challenge you that's what usually happens. You share your goals with someone, they usually will share your goals with you. It's much like seeing even a perfect stranger. If you smile at someone, 9 times out of 10 they're going to smile back at you. So it's what I call that boomerang effect.
Yeah.
So let that boomerang effect really come back and help you grow and help you accomplish your goals. And the more people you share your goals with, the more likelihood you have of achieving them.
Boldness has power in it.
I agree.
And be bold. And you really hit it when you said, you know, the power of the spoken word. And being able to speak your goals, whatever they are, and then writing them down, the power of the written word, and being bold about it. And when you share, you know, there's something that happens. It does, it really does. There's something about creating a positive environment. There's something about putting something powerful out into the world that's positive.
Yeah.
It really does certainly raise the game of life.
Well, get a lot of hearts flying across the screen. So thank everybody for the likes and shares. Maybe we're saying something that people like. I don't know. So hopefully it is. Hopefully you're finding that again, that this is some good information. And if it is, we actually would like you to go to the page on here. If you're watching this on Ask Max Fortune or Facebook with Ask Max Fortune, please like the page, share the page. Also go to our YouTube channel. It's you go to YouTube and just put in the Max Fortune Show, it'll pop up. And subscribe to our channel. Then you'll get the updates every time we do so. All our replays of this show will also be played. So maybe you heard some of what we had to say today and you wanted to share with someone else. The way you can get to that message again outside of Facebook, you can share it immediately. So we definitely would like you to share it on Facebook. But you can also, again, watch the replays of all the shows that we have. And you can do that and go into YouTube and just go put in the Max Fortune Show and you can watch some of the other shows. But we're asking you to subscribe. Like this page if you're finding good content. Share it with other people. Again, we can't stress that enough to people who are watching. I don't know if I missed anything else.
No, I think we've gone through a lot of stuff, and really I think we set a goal to talk about goal setting.
We did.
And I feel comfortable that we've reached a milestone here. We've accomplished that. So no, I appreciate every one of you out there, and Max does as well. We love having you a part of the show. It is our passion and our personal mission to serve you, to help move the needle of humanity forward one video at a time, because it does matter. And so I just want to leave you guys with this one parting thing is, as we've again talked about goal setting and this kind of that sterile word. Goal setting matters. It's important. Whatever you call it, it's important to push the needle forward. It's important to challenge yourself. It's important to ask yourself questions. Where do you want to be? who you want to be, how do you want to show up, and then set those goals that creates a life that you want to have and empowers you to be the individual that you have been called to be, gifted to be, and were created to be. So,
Well,
yeah.
as we're on the show, I want to thank you for watching the Max Fortune Show. And everything for the show. Max Fortune and Joe Farina signing out. Also remember, I want to leave you with perceive it, believe it, and achieve it. Your goals. Set them and achieve them.
well done. Well done, sir.